Welcome to this Executive Briefing Explainer. All right, let's just dive right in. Today, I am stepping into the role of your mentor, and we're going to coach you through the mental and, the practical hurdles of your business journey. Whether you're scaling operations, bringing on new staff, or dealing with some of those wild, sudden market shifts, real growth requires a serious level of executive presence. So we're going to use what's right in front of us to visualize a clear path from those limiting thoughts straight to strategic business success. Let's do this.
As your mentor, here is our roadmap for today's session. First, identifying your limiting beliefs. Second, breaking through business barriers. And third, small business tax strategies.
Section 1. Identifying your limiting beliefs. Confronting the internal resistance. Okay, take a look at Antonio Arnold's core visual concept here from his work Breaking Barriers. See that massive, towering corporate backdrop? That represents your journey. That's your long-term goals, your high-stakes meetings, the daily market volatility you have to navigate. But look right in the foreground. You absolutely must recognize that solid block of stone sitting there. That stone? That's your self-doubt. It's the cognitive bias and the fears standing literally right in your way. And honestly, before we can even begin to talk about tax strategies or scaling operations, we have to acknowledge that this giant stone exists right there in your mind.
So the really crucial point here is understanding that while the pressure of the business journey is totally real, those tall corporate buildings aren't going anywhere, right? The limits you feel are often entirely self-imposed. They're just stones waiting to be shattered. And let's be real, those things get pretty heavy to carry around all day. Let's look at a quick case study in reframing. A super common limiting belief is, I'm not equipped to handle a major market loss. But a growth mindset, it transforms that negative financial thought into actionable strategy. It flips it to, market losses are actually learning milestones that refine my cash flow management. By consciously shifting your daily mindset like that, you replace self-doubt with rock-solid, evidence-based confidence.
Section 2. Breaking through business barriers, taking forceful action.
Notice the leverage and intense focus of that poised hammer. Think of this like a sports metaphor, okay? A batter stepping up to the plate doesn't just stand there completely stiff. They prepare for the swing. Overcoming business isolation and fear requires you to pick up the exact right tool and have the absolute willingness to swing it. This raised hammer, it represents your daily mental drills, your morning routines, your affirmations, and your willingness to step into difficult employee conversations or really high-stress negotiation scenarios with total executive calm. You've got to lift the hammer before you can break the stone.
Boom! Here is the exact moment of impact, the hammer striking the stone. Listen. Breaking a limiting belief requires forceful, aggressive action and unwavering professional accountability. When sudden business setbacks hit out of nowhere, you don't retreat. No way. You bring the hammer down. You implement those emergency plans. You communicate effectively with your team, and you make those high-impact leadership decisions. This right here is the visual embodiment of taking control and neutralizing fear during critical decision moments.
All right, let's make this a bit interactive. Take a quick pause point right now. Seriously, grab a pen and a piece of paper, or just open up the daily habit tracker on your phone. I want you to write down the exact mental block, that solid stone you need to shatter today before we move on to practical financial strategy. Is it the fear of delegating tasks? Just take a second. Is it maybe anxiety about an impending tax deadline? Identify it right now so you know exactly what you need to strike.
Section 3. Small business tax strategies. Grounding your confidence.
Now, we've got to transition from the raw power of that hammer to the calculated precision of an organized desk. True growth requires grounding your mindset in fundamental tax planning. Tools like a calculator, detailed tax forms, and even just a focused morning coffee routine represent exactly what it looks like to organize your financial records for better decision clarity. Because when you reframe tax payments not as some heavy burden, but as a strategic step to secure investment capital for your growth, man, your long-term business confidence absolutely skyrockets.
The tools for long-term stability are incredibly clear here. First up, documentation. That means rigorously preparing your forms and keeping crystal clear tax records to essentially eliminate stress. Second is calculation. You need to be constantly evaluating the numbers using that calculator to ensure basic cash flow management. Third, organization. It's about arranging your workspace and knocking out your daily checklist for productive habits. And fourth, focus. That is the sustained mental clarity required to honestly evaluate if your daily actions actually align with your long-term business goals. This desk setup essentially acts as a daily habit tracker focused on high-impact leadership decisions.
So we have two conflicting but absolutely necessary forces at play. On the left, you need the raw power and mental resilience to break through mental blocks and push through market volatility. But on the right, you need the calculated discipline, the scalable workflows, and the rigorous tax strategy to actually manage your day-to-day operations. One without the other is just incomplete. You simply cannot scale a business purely on enthusiasm, and you definitely cannot manage taxes effectively if you're paralyzed by the fear of failure.
Remember this quote as you scale your operations. Resilience against fear must always be paired with a clear, strategic grasp of your small business tax obligations. Try to incorporate short evening review sessions to acknowledge your daily leadership wins, whether that win was surviving a super tough client call or finally organizing your quarterly tax goals. Every single step taken to conquer the mind inherently makes mastering the numbers that much easier.
I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to fuel your strategic business journey until our next explainer. Look at the pieces of the barriers you've literally just broken. How are you going to use your newfound mental clarity to delegate tasks, optimize your team's productivity, and execute a flawless tax strategy? The tools are right there on your desk. Now it is time to build. Keep tracking your daily progress, keep swinging that hammer, and stay focused.